Yeah, and fellow citizens, good morning and welcome to this fourth press briefing on the economy this year. This is a continuation of our engagements on 20th January, 24th March, and 12th May. So these bi-monthly engagements have complemented the statutory update we provided on the economy when we presented the 2022 media budget review to Parliament on 25th July 2022. Given the crisis that is impacting us globally, we will look to be doing this on a monthly basis to year end, so that we engage with you more and give you regular updates. Recent global developments since 2020 have now been described as the worst global cost of living crisis in 50 years. Our economy has not been left out of this considerable economic uncertainty. The priority for government has been to restore macro stability and address welfare challenges confronting the economy. Despite these efforts, we have seen inflation spiral and depreciation of our domestic currency that has impacted cost of living and businesses and the general economic circumstances of families in this country. Specifically, inflation remains high at 33.9% as of August 2022, and the Citi has appreciated by 37.1% against the US dollar as of 27 September 2022. Indeed, during the 2022 media budget review, I highlighted that our present situation was a painful one to report on. We haven't seen anything like this since August 2001, when inflation rate hit 33.9%, almost equivalent to what we are experiencing now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at an important moment in our economic history, and in the context of today's briefing, it is important to focus on the progress being made to put us firmly on a path of macroeconomic stability. We have since Q1, first quarter 2022, cut discretionary expenditures in our budget by 30%. In addition, we announced a number of expenditure measures to keep public spending in line with our tightening economic conditions, including restraints on purchase of new vehicles and a moratorium on non-statutory travel. As part of measures to shore up our reserves, improve exchange rate stability, and address some of the funding needs, the Ministry successfully worked on the 750 million Afri-Exim loan facility, which was received in August 2022. We thank Parliament for the accommodation in this also. The traditional cocoa syndication loan expected in the last quarter of 2022, which will promote the cocoa sector, will further help us build our foreign exchange reserves and provide a strong buffer for the Citi in the last quarter of the year. Additionally, the Bank of Ghana has introduced enhanced measures such as a special foreign exchange auction for bulk distribution companies and a gold purchase program to contain the depreciation of the Citi, which is now slowing down. So far, provisional fiscal development for January to July 2022 presented within the context of the 2022 budget revised deficit target of 2.6% of GDP and a primary balance of 0.4% of GDP show that 1. The overall fiscal deficit amounted to 31.1 billion, 5.3% of GDP, against a target of 31.2 billion, about 5.3% of GDP, and that the corresponding primary balance for the period was a deficit of 7.6 billion, 1.3% of GDP, against a target of 7.8 billion, 1.3% of GDP. Current year expenditure has also largely been contained owing to the operationalization of expenditure cuts announced since March. We are on course with expenditure rationalization efforts and will continue to enforce strict adherence to these measures across all MDAs whilst ensuring efficient delivery of public services. The Ghana Revenue Authority has intensified its efforts to shore up domestic revenue mobilization, particularly in relation to the enforcement of compliance measures. The increased visibility of GR officials at shopping malls and various commercial establishments and at our borders across the country is in pursuit of meeting our revenue objectives. Such exercises form part of an ongoing drive to ensure we take significant steps forward in remedying long-standing challenges with domestic revenue mobilization, indiscipline, corruption, and leakages. Of course, heightened tax compliance and increased tax audit exercises will continue to be complemented by policy initiatives that allow us to tap into a wider pool of taxpayers in the years ahead. Towards this, therefore, we are looking at areas around the e-levy to ensure its efficient implementation. Overall, our growth outturn of 3.4%, an impressive 4.8% in Q1 and Q2 of 2022 respectively, coupled with modest improvements in our fiscal position, suggests our economy is gradually on the upswing despite the numerous shocks we have faced over the past 2 years. These figures demonstrate that in spite of recent challenges, there has been economic growth, modest as the gains so far may be. This progress gives us a solid foundation to confront the challenges ahead. Undoubtedly, global risks remain on the horizon, including a strengthening US dollar and higher interest rates, which negatively affect external borrowing. This development is exerting enormous pressure on our balance of payment position, and thus the need for us to expedite engagement with the IMF. Within this context, government is finalizing its post-COVID-19 economic program as a domestic blueprint to engage the IMF. This document has already benefited from input from key stakeholders, including civil society, social partners, labor, employers, and faith-based organizations, academia, industry professionals, and the leadership of Parliament. Additional stakeholder engagements will be held to solicit further inputs for the program. Our economic program contains a set of time-bound structural reforms and fiscal consolidation measures to place our debt levels and fiscal accounts on a sustainable path over the medium term. The program is hinged on 7 pillars, namely debt sustainability, fiscal consolidation, strengthening monetary and exchange rate policies, building strong financial institutions, macro-critical structural reforms, maintaining peace and security, and economic growth and transformation. The IMF negotiations. The formal negotiations for a fund-supported program began on Monday, September 26, 2022, and discussions are advancing smoothly. The IMF mission will cover a period of 10 days, and in line with His Excellency the President's dialogue with the IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, negotiations will be fast-tracked to ensure that key aspects of the program are reflected in the 2023 annual budget statement in November 2022. Government is committed to ensuring that a comprehensive package is negotiated with the aim of restoring and sustaining macroeconomic stability, ensuring durable and inclusive growth, and promoting social protection. This release dated 26 September 2022 on the commencement of the IMF negotiations, having a sustainable debt path is a prerequisite for the IMF program. Therefore, the IMF, World Bank, and the Ghana team are currently undertaking a debt sustainability analysis to inform the program negotiations. In addition, the IMF and government team are working to update the medium-term macro-fiscal framework to inform IMF program design. Also, the government team and the IMF team are discussing policy measures and structural reforms proposing an economic program aimed at addressing the economic challenges facing the country towards restoring and sustaining macroeconomic stability, fiscal and debt sustainability, as well as promoting durable and inclusive growth and social protection. Ladies and gentlemen, we simply have not reached any agreement with the fund on the parameters of any debt operation, as we are in the process of completing the debt sustainability analysis. Government shall continue to actively engage all stakeholders in a clear and transparent manner as we seek to fast-track the IMF negotiation process. Ghana needs a viable domestic financial system to support its development program, especially in these 3 years of limited access to international capital markets. Therefore, everything must and will be done to protect our financial sector, and there must be room for a win-win conversation through extensive stakeholder engagement with both our domestic and external investors. Ghana has always had a collaborative approach with its partners, and we shall, I'm confident, come out of an historic arrangement. This is a government that protected the savings of 4.6 million Ghanaian depositors with the reform of the banking and financial sector. Even in our early days, we owe it to the economy and Ghanaians to keep protecting it. The sanctity and the well-functioning of the financial system is sacrosanct, and we need the support and trust of all Ghanaians to deliver this. Let us join hands to get this done. The great Celtic miracle in Ireland in the 80s was a result of such collaboration, especially with Labour, and we shall also be blessed with the Ghana miracle. A 5-member committee consisting of prominent financial services professionals will lead extensive stakeholder engagement across all the key segments of the financial sector: banking, asset management, pensions, and insurance. The announcement of the committee members will be made in the coming days, and they will immediately get to work to engage key stakeholders in the financial services sector. Additional to ongoing engagements of civil society organizations, social partners, labor employers and faith-based organizations, academia, industry professionals, and the leadership of Parliament. We welcome all contributions to this great public debate, but we must be careful to build and not to tear down our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, we will leverage on our strengths to rebuild the economy, focusing on our productive sectors. Initiatives such as the Youth Start program that will provide 1 million jobs over the next 3 years will support entrepreneurs with loans to build their capacity to create more jobs and realize the President's vision of a Ghana beyond aid and an entrepreneurial nation. The Development Bank of Ghana, which we capitalize at 750 million, is also supporting the private sector to invest in areas that will stabilize the economy over the medium to long term, with positive knock-on effects on job creation and economic growth. Taken together, we cannot lose sight of the remarkable progress we have made since the pandemic. And I believe that in the months to come, our robust policy approach response will help to considerably ease the challenges with inflation and the exchange rate pressures. I am extremely confident about where we'll land on this journey. We as a country have survived 142% inflation, yellow corn hysteria, mass exodus from our country, and more recently, a successful exit from the 2015 Extended Credit Facility IMF program. So let us go for the spirit of courage, for the Lord is with this nation. Let us not fear, for he who is of us is greater than all. Ladies and gentlemen, I remind each and everyone that Ghana is the only place we have. Its progress, its prosperity is our collective duty. We have overcome many challenges and risen to the occasion many times. This is another challenge which we must overcome. This too shall pass if we remain united and purposeful. Let us not forget that the battle is indeed the Lord's. As the book said in Genesis 11:5, if as one people speaking the same language, they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Thank you very much for your attention. God bless you. God bless our nation and make it great and strong. Thank you.